There's a hidden code running inside your head right now. It wasn't installed by accident. And until you recognize it, every move you make is predictable, controllable, weak. You've been told to trust your gut. Follow your instincts. Listen to that inner voice. Sounds empowering, right? But here's the problem. That voice isn't wisdom. It's just old programming pretending to be insight. Your brain runs on efficiency, not accuracy. It recycles outdated patterns because thinking from scratch burns too much energy. So it feeds you the same responses, dressed up as intuition. This isn't about self-doubt. It's about recognizing that what you call instinct is often just fear wearing a disguise. Fear of the unknown, fear of looking foolish, fear of breaking from the herd. And that fear keeps you locked in place, making the same moves, getting the same results, wondering why nothing changes. Look at the players who actually win, the ones building empires, while others are stuck theorizing. They don't rely on feelings. They map terrain. They calculate risk. They strip emotion out of the equation before making high-stakes calls. Because they understand something critical. Gut feelings are survival tools, not strategic assets. And the modern world doesn't reward survival, it rewards domination. There's a massive gap between reacting and responding. Reaction is reflexive. Response is deliberate. Most people spend their entire lives on autopilot, confusing motion with progress. But real control demands something sharper. It demands you stop being a creature of habit and start being an architect of outcome. That you replace reflex with protocol. That you see blind trust for what it is. Vulnerability dressed as confidence. Think about the last time you made a decision because it felt right. How did that turn out? Now think about the opportunities you avoided because something felt risky. Your instinct doesn't want you to grow. It wants you safe. And safety isn't power. It's just managed mediocrity. The truth cuts deep. If you want different results, you need to distrust yourself. Question every certainty that shows up without evidence. Understand that what you're calling intuition is just your past trying to hijack your future. And the future doesn't belong to people who repeat. It belongs to those who rewire. Still think following your gut will get you to the top? Then answer this. Why aren't you there yet? Your attention is under siege. Every platform, every notification, every manufactured crisis is competing for your mental bandwidth. And most of it is noise, irrelevant, engineered distraction designed to keep you reactive, scattered, spinning. But you engage anyway. You process it. You let it drain you. And that drain has consequences you're not accounting for. There's an old tactical principle that few people actually apply. Observe reality as it is, not as it appears. Sounds basic, but it's radical, because most people don't see reality. They see interpretations, emotional overlays, confirmation bias masquerading as clarity, and that distortion poisons everything. Financial decisions, relationships, career moves, all of it gets corrupted by emotional interference. Now, imagine this. A mental firewall, an invisible barrier that filters input before it reaches your decision center. This firewall doesn't block everything. It separates signal from noise, data from drama, real urgency from collective hysteria, and most importantly, protects you from your own worst impulses. Because deep down, you already know. Most of your confusion isn't external. It's internal noise amplified by external chaos. Real strategists don't spend their days putting out fires. They prevent fires from starting. How? By controlling information flow. They recognize that mental energy is finite, and wasting it on outrage cycles, comparison spirals, or panic trends is amateur hour. So they build systems, internal protocols, non-negotiable rules about what deserves attention and what gets ignored. Ever notice how the most powerful people say the least? That's not shyness, it's conservation. They don't waste energy on unnecessary explanations, pointless justifications, or unwinnable arguments. They observe, they process in silence, and when they move, they already know exactly what the play is, because they didn't let external chaos contaminate internal clarity. But here's the subtle edge. When you master noise filtration, you start seeing patterns invisible to everyone else. Weak signals, subtle shifts, Changes that haven't made headlines yet, but will define the next 12 months. That's not luck. That's directed attention. It's the difference between reacting to chaos and anticipating it before it arrives. What if the real competitive advantage isn't more information, but knowing what to ignore? You want to win. Everyone does. But you're addicted to the outcome. You wake up obsessing over it. You measure your worth by it. And when it doesn't arrive on schedule, you spiral, because you've tied your entire identity to something you don't fully control. And that's a structural flaw. Here's what happens. People emotionally dependent on results become brittle. Because results are volatile, markets shift, people change, variables you never accounted for enter the equation, and suddenly, all your effort feels wasted, not because you failed, but because you staked everything on something outside your control. Now flip it. What if, instead of fixating on the destination, you focused on the path? What if, instead of hoping for the right result, you just executed the protocol? Everything changes. Because protocol is predictable. Protocol is repeatable. Protocol gives you emotional stability, even when chaos is swirling. You're no longer at the mercy of luck. You become the constant in the middle of uncertainty. Elite operators don't celebrate isolated wins. They measure consistency, because they know one victory could be luck, but 10 victories following the same process? That's mastery. And mastery is what separates temporary power from sustainable dominance. People who rely on motivation fail on bad days. People who follow protocol win even when they don't feel like it. But here's the subtle part. When you stop chasing outcomes desperately, they start showing up. Not because of magic, but because you're finally focused on what actually matters. Repetition, adjustment, calibration. You become reliable, someone who delivers. And the world rewards reliability, not promises. Ever notice the most anxious people talk the most about their goals? And the quietest ones accomplish the most? That's not coincidence. That's focus. While some burn energy convincing others they'll succeed, others just execute. No fanfare, no drama, no need for external validation. Here's the truth that stings. You don't control the outcome. You never did. But you control the process. And when you accept that, something shifts. You stop negotiating with luck and start building real advantage. How to move before the crowd even sees the play. There's a game running, and you weren't given the rulebook. While most people wait for the hit to defend themselves, some already know where the next hit is coming from. Not because they're psychic, but because they understand something you haven't grasped yet. Chaos has architecture, and whoever reads that architecture controls what comes next. Think about it this way. Every major shift starts with weak signals. Small changes nobody notices. An offhand comment, a quiet policy adjustment, a trend still beneath the radar. Most people ignore it. After all, it doesn't feel urgent. But those who understand the game know that's exactly where the power is. In the ability to spot what hasn't become a crisis yet, to position before the panic begins. This isn't paranoia. It's field awareness. It's understanding that every massive disruption was preceded by signals that were visible but ignored. Financial crashes, political upheavals, tech revolutions. There were always warnings. There were always people who noticed. But only those who acted early reaped the rewards of anticipation. The rest got stuck in reaction mode. And reacting is always more expensive than anticipating. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you develop this capacity, you stop living in survival mode and enter command mode. Because you're not putting out fires anymore. You're preventing them. You're not asking permission from chance. You're reading the board while others are still picking up the pieces. There's something rarely mentioned about this. Anticipation requires stillness. It requires you to resist the urge to react with the herd. Because the herd always reacts late. Always buys high and sells low. Always rushes toward opportunities that have already closed. And if you're running with them, you've already lost. Speed isn't the advantage. Timing is the advantage. Ever notice how certain people always seem to be in the right place at the right time? That's not luck. That's calibration. It's the skill of reading microsignals and adjusting course before the course becomes obvious. Once it's obvious, the advantage is gone. What's left is competition. And competition is for those who didn't know how to anticipate. So here's the question. Do you want to keep reacting to what happens? Or do you want to be the first to see what's about to happen? Why? Internal solidity is the last sustainable edge. The world is fracturing, not literally, but structurally. Systems that seemed permanent are cracking. Certainties are being questioned. And in the middle of all this, there are two types of people: those who fall apart, and those who stay intact. The difference isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It's the capacity to keep your internal axis stable while everything external collapses. Because power isn't about controlling chaos. It's about not being destroyed by it. It's about moving through storms without losing direction. And that's rare. Exceptionally rare. Think about who you actually respect. Not the loudest voices, but the ones who stay calm under pressure, who make surgical decisions while everyone else is panicking. They're not smarter. They just don't let the external world contaminate their internal state. They've understood that the real battle isn't against the market, the competition, or the system. It's against their own unregulated mind. Here's a brutal truth. Nobody's going to teach you this in school. Nobody's going to warn you that modern life was designed to destabilize you, to make you anxious, to keep you dependent on external validation, to turn you into someone who reacts, consumes, obeys. And if you don't catch that, you'll spend your life being a piece in someone else's game. But when you build internal solidity, everything shifts. You stop negotiating with fear, stop needing approval, stop being hostage to circumstances. You become the constant, the fixed point. And in the middle of chaos, that gives you an absurd advantage. Because while everyone else is losing their heads, you're gaining ground. Now, the part nobody mentions. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not a motivational insight that fixes everything. It's daily construction, constant auditing, looking inward and asking, where am I weak? Where am I vulnerable? Where am I letting the external control me? And then correcting it, without mercy, without excuses. If this video shifted something, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Drop a comment on which part hit hardest. Because in the end, power doesn't belong to who shouts. It belongs to who remains. And permanence, my friend, is the final form of victory.